Welcome in and welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Facts podcast presented by Fantasy Data. Tonight, we have Shane Barrett in the house joining us today to talk about waiver wire and what to do with those guys that you just can't figure out what to do with because they've been so horribly underproducing, and you have probably spent a bit more on drafting them than definitely they're putting out for you right now. So, with that said, these are the Fantasy Facts with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller. How you doing tonight, Shane?
I'm good. I'm tired. We just finished up the quarter.
Oh, it's good. Look at you. Are just throwing your head around. Has been that type of quarter, or
it's been that kind of quarter. But yeah, other than that, I'm 11 weeks sober. I feel great.
Oh, go.
And yeah, I'm ready to talk some football. I'm excited.
Awesome. Love it. I love starting our show with Joe just jumping in and giving us Cooper Rush and his stat line. 4 wins. There it is. Where's the camera?
Yep.
There it is. Cooper Rush keeping it going. And not to spoil a little bit what's on the show, but we're going to talk some of the latest news, injuries, stuff like that. Dak Prescott is already been ruled out for week 5. So we get a chance to see Cooper Rush go 5-0. So I love it. Joe, thank you for jumping in as always. I hope we're back here again next Tuesday, and the very first thing we put up on the screen is Rush 5-0, Seth. That's what I'm looking forward to. So tonight, again, we're going to be talking waiver wire, stuff like that. We're going to be what I'm going to be using and kind of getting Shane put together with really just firing just difficult questions at Shane all night long.
Yes.
I'm going to be using a ton of data from our good friends, are better than good friends because they're the ones that keep us going here at Fantasy Data, using all of their stats. I export them out so I can do a whole lot of manipulating with it. They have their premium
because he's a nerd.
Projections. That is a fact. But that fact, a fact nerd that can win in football. There we go. Use the promo code FAQS, that's FAQS, and you can get 20% off your premium prescription. I highly, highly recommend it, especially because they have a ton of stuff tomorrow. Later this week, when Pat and I do our preview show, we go through and we do all the projections and we look at the betting odds presented by Betting Data. It's an affiliate. It's right there. Nice. And also the projections that we get from our good, all the fellow nerds crunching numbers for Fantasy Data.
Nerds.
So you gotta love a good nerd. Come on now. We do amazing stuff.
Look.
All right.
You're one of my favorite people. Like, I love nerds. I just love making fun of you too, because I'm just enough of not a nerd to make fun of you. But really, I'm just a big nerd too.
Well, there you go. All right. So our opening question today is going to be going to go right in line with just a good question for you. But before we do that, I know you're not drinking, but actually, you know what? Because I went real hard at a bachelor party this past weekend. I have a little Schweppes in this one, so
solid.
I need to, you know. Keeping it honest, it's a little bubbly water. It's not a beer tonight, but it's time to crack one open with the opening question. It still makes a nice pop, though.
Man, it's so satisfying.
And the seltzer, it's not bad too. All right, so just in time for the opening question, we have Coach T. Posey jumping in with us also, just in time. Tyler, thank you for jumping in with us. I know it's been the beginning of the school year, which means everybody gets sick.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. My house has definitely came down with it. But my my teacher immune system has kept me out of it for about 3 or 4 days, but it's starting to hit me last night. Got a little bit left in me. So
yeah, there you go. I hope it holds strong. There is truth to that teacher immune system. I've been in education for almost 15 years, and literally I don't get sick except for like once or twice a year, and I go down like bricks. But then like every other normal like disease, I'm just like, nah, we're good. We're all right. Keep it moving. I got a class to teach. Let me get in there. So thank you for jumping in with us. And we'll try and move it along. We'll have some fun tonight. Take your mind off of being sick, and hopefully I know the kids and family and everything have been a little sickly also. So hopefully they're all getting better too. All right, the opening question today, real simple and easy. How are your guys' fantasy teams doing right now? Keep it under a minute. How would you describe how your fantasy teams are doing right now?
I may be having my best fantasy season ever, like overall.
Okay. Nice.
I have 2 4-0 teams, but I have a bunch of 3-1 teams, and I have a bunch of 2-2 teams that I think can still contend too. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Nice.
I would say mine is pretty meh. I have a couple 4-0s, 1 or 2 3-1s, and then a bunch of 2-2s that probably look on the low side of contending, not necessarily having a big chance to go through. But I have a couple best balls looking pretty nice, but overall it's just kind of a meh.
Yeah, for me, I have a pretty wide range of outcomes so far. Same thing, couple 4-0 teams, a few 3-1s, bunch of 2-2s, some 1-3s, some 0-4s, and some of those 0-4s are the most mind-boggling teams out there, because it's like, how is my team a top 3 scoring team and I'm 0-4?
Yeah.
It statistically doesn't make sense, but it does, because it's the weekly kind of head-to-heads. But go ahead, Shane.
No, I was just saying I have a handful of 0-4s too, but those were intentional. Like I was trying to tank. I think it's funny. I think I have the opposite problem of you, Seth. I have teams where it's like, I wasn't supposed to be winning. Why am I winning? Like, what's going on? Which is a nice problem to have, but
yeah.
I have a couple of nice dynasty squads that I'm trying to get pretty high picks on, and I'm sitting here at 2-1 or 2-2 and 3-1. I'm like, this is not what I want it to be at.
Yeah. I have my favorite home dynasty league. I was going into it of, I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna see what happens. Started 0-3, and like games that could have been wins, and then it was like, you know what? It's a 10-team league. I have 4 first-round picks already. There's a person with 23 first-round picks, and I have Jonathan Taylor. Let's make a deal. So now I have 7 first-round, 23 first-round picks. I have something like 15 top 20 picks next year.
Solid.
Yeah, so I'm looking to really rebuild the dynasty there. But now week 5, I have a head-to-head against the other team that's been tanking since the start, and we have very clear tanking rules. And this is another thing. Anybody that's out there playing dynasty and they do not have clear tanking rules, you need to fix that immediately. We have very clear tanking rules that make it fair for everybody. You must start a full roster. That full roster must consist of a starting quarterback. You cannot put in, the third string quarterback and get 0 points. It has to be a starting quarterback. So part of the game is trying to pick, usually Baker Mayfield, the worst quarterback of the week that's going to get you the lowest amount of points. I had to, Shane. We literally just talked about it.
I know you did, but you still deserve
Baker Mayfield is a great choice, Seth.
Great choice. Mitch Trubisky. You know who my choice was this week? Brian Hoyer. Don't want to root for injury, but
Solid.
that was a great tanking situation for me. And then after that, it has to be people that have at least some form of fantasy points on the year and are dressed for the game, which means you can play fullbacks, you can play like fifth string wide receivers. The flex position is almost always like the blocking tight end of like some terrible team. So it creates a new level of strategy of trying to be the absolute worst, lowest scoring team out there. But that was way too much there. So that was probably one of the longest opening questions I think I've done. And I blame Pat for not being here. He's also dealing with a little bit of injury. But just in case your fantasy squad is in the toilet right now, it doesn't have to be. You can jump over to our good friends over at Underdog. Use the promo code FAQS, that's FAQS. Get 100% deposit match up to $100. If you enjoy doing what I do and you're in one of the states that allows it, it is great for Thursday night pick'em. It's great for Sunday and Sunday night pick'em. Especially Monday night pick'em. Love all of those smaller brackets where I can kind of just hone in on a few of them and just kind of keep making a little bit of bank. And they do weekly fantasy as well. So if your team sucks this week, it's all right. Set a new draft. Get the joy of drafting every week with our friends over at Underdog. All right. Whew, that was a lot there. We're going to head over to the news desk. Fresh from the Fantasy Facts news desk. And you're supposed to look up like you're so surprised, like, oh, the camera's there. Back to you, Shane. All right. Wow. Lots of stuff. We talked about it a little bit already, but I have to start with the Cowboys here. Dak Prescott is out. Basically saying that he's not able to grip the ball yet with his injured throwing hand, which means Cooper Rush is back in there. I'm going to put the comment up there one more time. Rush 4-0, hopefully going to 5-0. But Dak is out, can't grip the football. I honestly don't mind it. The team seems to be doing well enough, and I'm going to try and hold off some of my thoughts about the team that they're going to play in week 5 because I really intend on laying it into them on the next time we jump on the air. But guys, Dak is out. Shane is dead. He's so much in love with Cooper Rush.
Oh,
Thoughts?
I can't drink tonight, apparently. Yeah, no, this is concerning is not the right word because I've broken my thumb before and know what it's like to have to either grip a football or, in my case, I was playing goalie, try and make a save with that. It's jarring once you get the cast or whatnot off at first. So this makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's the smart thing to do with the way that Rush has been playing. And I think for the long-term health of the team and for Dak, you hold him out for at least another week or two just to get him fully healthy. Especially with the way that Rush is playing, there's no need to rush him back. Pun fully intended there.
Yeah, and Joe staying with us in the comments. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate you.
Totally agree with that.
But yeah, Rams, Philly, and honestly, the Rams just they look so bad. At least for fantasy on the offensive side of the ball, they look so bad. That offensive line cannot they can't move. They can't move the line of scrimmage. They can't protect. They can't pick up a blitz. It just seemed like 49ers have a good defense, but
who would help them pick up a blitz?
Woof.
Do you know who would help them pick up a blitz? He just needs to get healthy too. Kyron Williams.
Oh boy.
I mean, all right, we're not going to jump too much into the future of the show here, but I just wanted to start off with Dak in the beginning there. Another one that we're going to jump to real quick is we had two people being carted off this week. We had Treyland Burks and DK Metcalf being carted off the field, both for two completely different reasons. How are we feeling about Treyland Burks? Because his is the one that was like an actual injury. DK Metcalf apparently had to go to the bathroom pretty badly, and that's what necessitated him being carted off the field. Which I don't want to like laugh at the dude. Maybe like there was something going on. We've all had that situation where you climbing up a ladder, feel a little splatter. We've all been there. But I don't want to laugh at him, but it is kind of humorous, I would say. Yeah, Treyland Burks though. Tyler, you want to jump in? Treyland Burks has been kind of coming on a little bit with just again another kind of lackluster offense in the Tennessee Titans. But what have been your thoughts with Treyland Burks?
Man, I love Burks. I'm an Arkansas guy. He grew up like 45 minutes from my hometown. So I got to see him play in high school. He played quarterback and linebacker actually in high school. So it's kind of weird that, he switched to a receiver there at Arkansas, but he was just a pure athlete. He was a big, strong, physical receiver with gigantic hands. But yeah, just not a great start to his, I guess, career in terms of like training camp. And I know we had that whenever we came on last time about talking about his maybe the poor start there at training camp and his asthma and how's it going to go. And it's okay. I mean, he had 5-6 targets first couple of weeks, but with this offense struggling those first couple of weeks, he didn't really get to produce at an insane amount. And in the last couple of weeks, he's not really been heavily involved, and they've been winning. So I'm not sure where this offense is going to go, where this team's going to go. But I think his is just a turf toe, so I would think
it was turf toe.
Yeah.
So he's probably expected back here in maybe a week or two, depending on the severity. I know he doesn't have to have surgery, so he should be back in a week or two. And I would think that it's just a normal piece, not anything fantasy relevant. I wouldn't think right off the bat. Maybe give him a few more weeks to heal up and get acclimated back into the offense, but nothing fantasy relevant for me. Just a holding dynasty and just. Maybe the Titans improve.
Maybe. I mean, there's still plenty of weeks left in the season. There's still 14 weeks left in the season, 13 in most fantasy leagues. So there is plenty of room to get healthy and come back. Anytime I hear turf toe, though, it just makes me think of that perpetual questionable tag that makes life hell for fantasy football managers. But it is good news that both of these players that were carted off the field did not sustain major injuries. All right. On to another name that did sustain a much larger injury, and that's Javonta Williams with an ACL and LCL tear. Two of the ligaments in the knee that kind of hold it all in place and together. This is going to be a season-ending injury. This is also something that is going to probably take him a little while to come back from. Aside from it sucks, anything more besides that this sucks for Javonta Williams?
I mean, the only thing that I think it really does is add even more confusion than there potentially already was to this backfield. Because Melvin Gordon's got the fumbles. Mike Boone's been on the team the longest outside, but then they went and signed Latavius Murray. And so for me, I think it's going to be too quick for Murray to really get in there and make an impact this week. But then maybe long term, we see him have more of an impact for the rest of the season. But yeah, it sucks. The other thing that I'm hoping may come out of this is maybe Russ actually like pulls his head out of his corny ass and starts to play.
I mean, maybe, but there also is some news about Russ dealing with a shoulder issue. So maybe not. Maybe he's just going to make another Subway commercial And maybe that's how he hurt his shoulder, was tossing his
Probably.
dangerous sandwich, which, good Lord, I can't imagine the cheesiness of that entire thing. But just looking at that Denver backfield, one of the things I do with the data from Fantasy Data is I pull their snap data and then I use it to calculate not just snap percentage, because that's cool. Like, oh yeah, sure, he was on the field. Awesome. I calculate the percent of offense that went through that individual player. So that's how many passing attempts did they have out of their total set of plays? How many rushing attempts did they have out of their total set of plays? How many targets out of their total set of plays? And so it's been a pretty bumpy, and not bumpy. It's been pretty even for Javonta Williams, 28%, 26%, 27%. And then obviously this last week dropping down to 20%. But Melvin Gordon has been kind of the fluctuating piece there, right? And so it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with this rushing backfield. And one of the waiver wire pieces is Mike Boone, right? So what are your what's your take on Mike Boone? We'll go with Tyler first and then Shane. Mike Boone, are you investing in him in redraft leagues?
I mean, I put in a claim for him on most of my leagues, just a wait and type see thing. Like if you have a clear roster spot that you're not trusting any guy on your bench, then he's worth the spot for me. I don't know how much he'll get, 40%, 50%. I don't know the answer to that. I would assume, my guess is 60-40, and you get 40% of that of the carries and maybe a few passing down works. He's viable in 5 weeks, but it's just a guess, and it's just a wait-and-see approach. Nothing like I'm going to start him right away and hope he rises me to fantasy glory, but definitely worth a stash.
Shane, anything to add?
No, I'm kind of right there with Tyler on. If I am RB needy in a league, I wouldn't put in a bid on him. If I needed some flex help, I went and put in a bid on him. But I didn't spend, I don't think, more than like $12 or $15 of fab on him. So I'm not spending a ton on him, but I'll go throw a bid on him.
Yeah, and just to put another damper on the Mike Boone possibility, right? So Javonta Williams in week 1 scored 19 points. Since then, he hasn't scored in double digits in PPR. Melvin Gordon in week 3 scored 16.5 points, didn't score into double digits, and didn't make it into the positive numbers in week 4. Finished the day with negative 1.2. So that's my biggest hesitation with Mike Boone, and I honestly feel like what we're hoping for is what we were hoping for last week with Craig Reynolds of the, hey, we don't know what's going to happen with him. It's a split backfield when it's the two main guys. Maybe he'll come in and take over that kind of, 40-50% of that split backfield. And I think that's where we're going to be getting ourselves into trouble again here, is trying to put a third option at the running back into that conversation of, a flex play or a startable positional play. So I'm not excited for Mike Boone. Again, I'm in similar spots though, where it's like, well, this dude's done. I'm not getting anything out of him. I'm gonna cut him and make a move and put some kind of claim in there. Yeah. But if I get outbid for it, I'm not gonna be that angry.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel at this point.
Same.
All right, Jonathan Taylor, hopeful to play week 5 despite being questionable, dealing with his ankle injury. One thing to be aware of is it is a short week for Jonathan Taylor.
That's the terrifying part for me. They play Thursday night with this injury. I'm honestly, I'm pulling him out of lineups preemptively, hoping that the Colts will just declare him out so I don't have to put him in, because you can't sit Jonathan Taylor if he's playing. Even if he's playing in a limited role, you can't sit him, even though this offense has been atrocious. But I am sitting him preemptively, hoping that the Colts will pull him for his longevity and maybe the team's longevity.
Does it bump up Nyheim Hines for you, Tyler, that Jonathan Taylor's questionable? Even if he just stays questionable all the way up until game time and he does play, does it bump Nyheim Hines up for you any, or are you just kind of staying away considering how, like Shane said, just how bad the offense in general has kind of been?
I'll actually play Hines. I'm okay with it. Just if the offense is terrible and Taylor is limited in any way, and they're more likely to pass the ball and bring in Hines. So getting him in a PPR spot, have a few targets, some checkdowns from Matt Ryan. I don't mind playing Hines. I won't love it, but especially if Taylor's on a pitch count, then I would definitely go to him, and which also would help me to think that the Colts are going to be playing from behind.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with Hines too, with the expectation that he's probably a flex play at best.
Yeah. And I mean, the troubling part with Hines again is, he's getting 12% of the offense, 12%, 9, 4, but then his fantasy production, even with that 12%, is just not startable in most cases. 7 PPR, 8 PPR, 11 PPR, 2.3 PPR. Like, it just hasn't really turned into much for him. So I do think you guys may be onto something with playing him, but it's definitely going to depend on my team needs. If I feel like I'm going to need a bang, I don't mind rolling out Hines on Thursday night. I'm definitely not I really am trying to work him into my lineups. Unfortunately though. So, all right. Moving right along. Cordarrelle Patterson has been doing honestly pretty well. Atlanta Falcons have been doing quite surprising, I would say, to most people, depending on what position in particular you're talking about. Cordarrelle Patterson is on IR till at least week 9 due to a knee injury. How are we feeling about CPAT?
Meh. That's the meh. And I don't know if you want to talk his waiver backups yet, but
let's jump right into it, because I'm more inclined to spend on Tyler Algier than I am on Mike Boone.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And unfortunately, most of the leagues I have, Algier's not available.
That's because I've been going around and scooping them up for the past couple weeks in just about every league that I've been in.
But yeah, I like Algier. I've also been picking up Caleb Huntley.
Mm-hmm.
Now I need your nerdiness here. They both had, I believe, 10 carries by the end of the game in week 4. Do you know what percentage offense they ended up with? Probably not, because they're probably off the face of the planet, because
nope.
they're
Caleb Huntley had 18.2% of the offense. Cordarrelle Patterson had 16.4 due to injury, and Tyler Algier had 20%.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm really fine, I think, with either one of these guys as waiver claims. If you're in a dynasty league, I think either one is fine for a pickup if they're there. Huntley has been the one that's been available for me in dynasty leagues. But if you can get either one in redraft, I'm fine with that. Especially if you lost CPAT, you lost Javonta, dealing with other injuries. So,
yeah, I think Algier is 30. He's only 31% rostered on Sleeper in one of my redraft. I guess in all redraft league settings. So, yeah, I'll be taking stabs at Algier as well, and especially running back needy teams. I'll just go after Huntley, because if it's an even split, you just don't know and you need help. Either one of them are fine, but you definitely will see Huntley available in more leagues.
Yeah, I think that's the real kicker, right? Is like Huntley's going to be available out there, but I feel like the people that are really pushing the Caleb Huntley waiver claim are people that are trying to double down on not liking Tyler Algier, and the momentum he had going into the season. Because to me, it's Algier. Algier when Algier was just getting a sense of the offense. He's had 16% of the offense since week 2, 12% since week 3, in week 3, 20% in week 4. Caleb Huntley, on the other hand, has had 1.6% and 18.2%. Like, he just hasn't been involved in the offense. So for me, I'm going to go with the guy that's been used already in the offense and was trying to make that happen. And I'm glad I talked over Shane, because I'm assuming it was probably something about one of my takes. But,
no, Caleb Huntley was on the practice squad.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he only has 2 games with percent offense.
I feel like that makes a big difference. All right. And one final little piece of good news, unless you guys have something else. But Brian Robinson, quote, very good chance to play week 5, coming from head coach of the Washington Commanders, Ron Rivera. Are we jumping out? I'm going to leave that up there. Are we jumping out to go get Brian Robinson ahead of time? Is he where?
Yes.
If he's not already in somebody's IR spot, and in one of the teams that, I just lost 2 of them that were close in this league. I actually drafted Brian Robinson with like the 15th round pick, knowing that I was going to put him in my IR spot and then be able to pick up another guy that was just like a waiver wire pickup there as well. But if he's not already in IRs, where does he fit in level of optimism, level of, I guess, percent fab, if we're doing that, between Mike Boone, Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley, Brian Robinson?
I don't know if this is going to make sense. I think he may be the lowest percentage fab that you spend, because I think he's actually rostered higher than the other guys for the most part from what I saw. So, shameless plug here. I actually picked Brian Robinson as my dart throw for my show last night, because of kind of exactly what you're just saying. Look for him on your waiver wires and see if he's out there. And if he is, you can probably get away with doing a sneaky like 5% or less bid, because people aren't going to know that he's out there. So that's kind of my thought. But I think his ceiling rest of the season is probably the highest out of all of these guys.
Yeah, I agree. He's 56% on sleeper rostered already. So he's definitely out there in a few leagues, but obviously not even close to all of them. I have him on IR in like 4 leagues, so I'm sitting pretty with him. But I agree. He's definitely would be my top option without having to spend the most for the rest of the season, especially. And then probably Algier, and then, the other 2 guys just shots. But definitely the top option without having to spend the most, like Shane said.
Yeah, no, so I guess that helps us kind of push the segue into the larger part of the show then. And I was trying to come up with a fun name for it. I think I'm just calling it like the early ADP chopping block. But then there's a few guys out there too that aren't necessarily that early ADP. What I'm trying to pinpoint are guys that you are sitting looking at your roster going, what the hell do I do with this guy? I feel like I've invested so much in them, and I've gotten diddly squat out of them. What do I do? And I feel like that's what I've been responding to the most kind of questions about over the past, this past week and the past 2 weeks, probably, of just like, man, this guy's he's just doing nothing. What do I was like, at some point, it's like, yeah, you can't start them until they can show you something. But at what point do you go, well, you can't roster them until they show you something? And so I think one of the main guys that I think everybody's been talking about is Kyle Pitts, right? Kyle Pitts. I don't think you're going to find Kyle Pitts on waiver wires yet, but I really don't think you'll ever find Kyle Pitts on waiver wires. But what are, like, that's the main guy, right? That I feel like everybody's talking about, because you can't. It's so difficult to start him, and the 1 week where it was like, oh man, I think we got a little something going, is just followed by another like, ugh. Exactly. So that's what we're trying to hit here, right? Is what are you doing with certain guys? And Kyle Pitts put up 3.9, 3.9, 13.7, 3.5. Just woof, woof. Hey, that was pretty good. Woof. Let me do this. Is there a point where you cut Kyle Pitts?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, there's no way. He's a top 5 round pick. There's no chance.
No.
Okay.
At this position, especially.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. So then what are you doing with him?
I'm starting him every week. It sucks, but I don't feel like you have a choice unless you've got to start him every week.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You pick a tight end that in the top 5 rounds like that, you're starting him, because what else are you going to start anyway?
Yeah.
And he's got more talent than pretty much every tight end in the league. He's at least top 5 talent. But what's on the waiver wire that it's going to be better? Well, right now a lot, but potentially really.
Well, I'll give you a question from a guy that I get questions from on Twitter a pretty good amount. So the dilemma he's caught with is Kyle Pitts or Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett has one game at 4.5. Every one of his games outside of that, 14, 13, 17. Every one of his games outside of his one dud game has been better than Kyle Pitts. Do you go back and forth in your head on that one, on Kyle Pitts or a guy like Gerald Everett?
Yes, but I'm probably just putting Everett or Pitts, whichever one you want, in as a flex.
So you're still just trying to work Pitts into the roster.
Yeah, because we saw it in week 3 what he can actually do, what he should be doing. Don't know what the hell's going on in Atlanta. But I think ultimately it would hurt a lot more to bench Kyle Pitts and have him go off on your bench than I think it would to bench Gerald Everett and have him go off on your bench. Even though Everett right now has been more consistent, Keenan Allen's been out for what, 2 or 3 games?
Yeah.
Yes. 3 games.
So that could end up eating into Everett's share once Allen comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that eventually Arthur Smith will be like, okay, we should probably get the ball to our best player on the team. But who knows at this point?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not about fantasy football, Shane.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay. He came out and firmly stated that. All right. So that's kind of what we want to start hitting on, right? Is these guys that are just really asking the question, what do you do with them, right? So I'll go with a guy that I have sitting on one of my teams. I think I have him on about two or 3 teams out of 15, which is not bad. That's like 20% ownership. It's Cole Kmet, and I feel like at this point, and I'm gonna package these ones together. Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, and how we'll throw in Justin Fields in there also.
Just twist the knife on Bears fans. Just
Hey,
twisting the knife on Bears fans. Like,
yeah, so I'm gonna hop off and put my kids to bed.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I'll be back on.
Thank you so much for jumping in, and we'll get, as soon as you come back in, we'll get you right back in here.
Perfect.
Yep.
See y'all in a second.
That's on.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Shane.
I'm starting Darnell Mooney this week in a league. It looked like him and Fields in the I won't say the entire offense, but it looked like him and Fields finally had a game where they connected, and maybe the coaching staff is going to start trusting Fields to throw the ball at least to Mooney down the field a little bit more. I think the problem with Kmet that we're running into is he's just being used as a blocker, which he's not. He hasn't been doing very, very good at. So run him with some routes, Eberflus.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, I'm not starting Cole Kmet if I've got him, and I've got him in a lot of places, specifically in Dynasty.
Yeah,
So
and it's just so atrocious. Like looking at Cole Kmet's percent of offense is just atrocious. Like he's just not being used in
you could
right,
stop there. He's
like
just not being
as a
used.
blocker or something like that. Like he's not being used in any of the actual plays, right?
Yeah.
He did have back-to-back weeks of his highest percent of offense, but only at 4.8%. Like that's just
It's ugly.
it is abysmal. And his other ones, he's getting outplayed really in terms of percent offense by like Ryan Griffin. Like, there's Jake Tunges has been impeding on some of these plays with 1.6% of the offense, which doesn't seem like it should be a lot, but
Yeah.
that's only 2 plays less than Cole Kmet. And so I think unless you're playing in some kind of super deep roster, I agree. I can cut ties with just about every single one of the Bears and not feel bad about it. I think Khalil Herbert you hold on to.
Yeah.
David Montgomery you probably hold on to. But other than that, like maybe Mooney, but man, like I don't want to touch him.
Yeah, I think Mooney may end up being like matchup dependent for the rest of the season until we see something more consistent.
Yeah. I mean, his best game came last week.
Yeah.
But they're 13.4 points. That's just that's not enough to cut it. Especially, and this was one of the things that I brought up last week on our show. Justin Fields is one of only 2 quarterbacks. This was back when we only had 3 weeks, but now it's 4 weeks of information. One of only 2 quarterbacks, he may be the last one, that has less than 50% of the offense running through him in every single week. And now this includes pass attempts, rush attempts, and receiving targets. So usually most quarterbacks are in the 60s, at least in the 50s. Justin Fields, 48%, 46%, 39.7%, 46.8%. There is something going on in Chicago where they do not want Justin Fields being in charge of the football. They'd rather put it in the hands of Khalil Herbert or David Montgomery. And it's painfully obvious that that's what they want to do. So, yeah. I think they are all cuttable. And the real sad part is you have guys like Mooney who, he was drafted as wide receiver 29. He's wide receiver 80 right now.
Jesus.
I mean, literally every main positional player is well below where they should be. Like Fields, QB 18, currently QB 30. David Montgomery, granted, he did miss a game, and we're looking at like total points. Yes, I know. Yes, like average, median, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that another time. But you drafted him as RB 19. He's RB 46 right now. Cole Kmet, tight end 10. He was going, and that's kind of where he was for me, was like, all right, I'm punting tight end all the way to the end. I'm going to take a dart throw at him. In a couple places, I dropped them for Hayden Hurst. Like I've already made that switch and dropped them for Hayden Hurst because right now he's the tight end 44. There's the only bright spot out of this entire thing has been Khalil Herbert, and that's been off of his amazing 30-point game in week 3. And even that came back down to earth in week 4 with an 11-point game.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we stop talking about the Bears?
Yes. I would say we should probably put like a 2-week, like punishment, grounding. We're grounded from talking, and I feel like that's actually more like a reward. But we are rewarding ourselves by not talking about the Bears for 2 weeks.
Cool.
All right. Anybody that you feel, Shane, that is like they're on the chopping block, or questions that you've had just coming in about guys that are just being so disappointing?
Oh, I mean, look, you see the hat, and
Mhm.
I'm not even talking about the quarterback because he's just been god awful. Like, there ain't nothing that you can say. And you know how much I love Baker. He's been hot garbage. I'm not going to get into that right now. But his number one receiver, DJ Moore, has suffered from it as well. And with where you likely drafted DJ Moore, it is killing your fantasy team.
Yep.
And the one good thing is last week he finally had a game where he was peppered with targets. I think he finished with 11 targets. That part is encouraging to me. But this week they have the 49ers, and the 49ers are going to boat race the bejesus out of them.
I mean, if fantastic Jimmy G and Debo connect to boat race them, yes. But I honestly feel like it's like one of these defensive battles that you're not going to get. You're not getting a high scoring game. You're not getting a game where you're going to be that excited for.
It'll be 24-10 49ers, but they're going to score 21 in the first half probably, and then just run the ball in the second half.
I feel like you're overestimating what the 49ers can do on offense.
I'm not, because I trust Ayuk, Kittle, and Debo.
I mean, that's actually a perfect segue. Let's talk about Mr. George Kittle then. Yeah, because George Kittle was drafted as the tight end 4. Granted, he had the 2 weeks in the beginning, but even with those 2 weeks in the beginning, you're still not getting the production you want out of George Kittle.
I thought he had a better week 3 than he did.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, well, and I mean, I watched a fair chunk of the game last night before I recorded, and they were using him to block on every play, which he's an excellent blocker. Like, that's the difference between him and Cole Kmet. George Kittle is an excellent blocker, but that is going to ultimately limit his fantasy ceiling. But with them losing Lance, at some point, I feel like they're going to have. I mean, they scored 24 points last week against the Rams, and the Rams are probably a better defense than Carolina. I feel like people have been shitting on Carolina's defense, and it's not necessarily warranted. They've
actually been decent. They've been surprisingly good. They've limited teams scoring, and that's what you want out of your defense, especially in the modern age of football, where it's like it seems like teams can score at will. They for the most part have been able to limit team scoring.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals either tied for the most points that they've given up, or were the most points that they gave up this season, and it was only 26. So that's why I feel like they're getting unnecessarily shit on. But yeah, the Browns scored 26 on him in week 1 too. Sorry to make this defensive talk, but part of the reason that I think they're giving up 24-ish points a game is because the offense is so bad. And by the time that the offense finally starts clicking, the defense has been out there for so long because it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, turnover, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, field goal. Like, literally, I can't remember who said it it was a week or two ago, but the Panthers, I think, have the fastest pace of play with the fewest amount of plays. So it's literally they're going as fast as they can to go 3 and out.
Which isn't generally what you want to do.
No, it's not. So, yeah, DJ Moore is killing you right now. I've benched him in a couple leagues where I've got the luxury of doing so. There's probably some guys that you could pick up. I mean, because realistically, I don't see him being higher than a flex play this week, and he's going to have a really good week comparatively to even be that.
Yeah.
So there's guys like you can get Corey Davis off of waivers in most leagues. I'd start Corey Davis over DJ Moore this week. Josh Reynolds I might even consider starting, especially if Amon-Ra is out.
If Amon-Ra is out, if Shark is out again, which again, probably I really hope Amon-Ra is ready to come back. But yeah, the Lions are one of the highest scoring teams
in
the NFL right now. And
the answers are not.
Yeah, like it's going to be real interesting to see where things kind of shake out with the Lions. They haven't been able to win a game yet, like really dominantly win a game yet.
Yeah,
but they've been able to like put up.
They've been in the game. They were in the game.
Scoring games.
I mean, they weren't in the game against the Eagles, but they came back and made it closer than it probably should have been.
Yeah.
Did they win week 2?
Or
did they win last week?
No, I know they didn't. I know they didn't win last week.
Like week 3?
I think they may have.
I don't think they did. I think they lost week 3. No, they won week 3. I know they won week 3. I think.
Why is it doing that? Sorry. I'm trying to play with my other spreadsheet here. It's not doing what I wanted to. But I will Google it in a moment, and we'll see.
They won in week 2. They won in week 2 against Washington.
You've already done it? Okay.
I've just pulled it up on Sleeper.
Right.
And they lost a nail-biter to Minnesota in week 3, 24-28. And then they lost to Seattle this week, 41-45 or 45. No, 48-45. So, like, they've been in every game.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. They've been in a bunch of games.
So, no, I'm with you. I think it's just a matter of time before they click and really get going. Yeah,
agreed. All right. A few other names that I just want to throw out there and just see where we're at with them. Cam Akers is another one that is just, what do you do with Cam Akers?
You cut bait. Now, full disclosure, I am not a Cam Akers guy. I've never been a Cam Akers guy. So I don't have very much exposure to Cam Akers. So I'm a lot more comfortable saying this. But with the way that this offensive line is playing, plus the way that he's playing, you can't trust him in your lineups whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which is why you shouldn't have drafted him where people were drafting him in the first place.
I mean, yeah, that's probably a good call there also.
Did that hurt you to say that?
No, I mean, I think I have Cam Akers in one league, maybe 2 leagues, 1 or 2 leagues. And the overriding like precedent was like, I don't want to use that high of a draft pick on a guy coming off an Achilles tear, on a guy that I'm not sure where he's going to be, how that offense is going to kind of turn out. And now the offensive line is just garbage. They can't block anything. We mentioned it earlier in the show. And yeah, like I don't know what to do with them now. And I think that's a great choice. Like you can't start them with any confidence. And you can't trade them really. I was talking with somebody on Twitter earlier today, and I was like, look for somebody that, if somebody was like a Cam Akers fan 2 years ago, and really excited for him, and maybe they still have some trutherism.
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
you can trade him for Josh Reynolds or something like that, like somebody that you think is going to drop off. Or you try and like get the Henderson guy, the Henderson manager to say like, all right, yeah, I'll take it and figure out which one to play.
Which one to
But
go? Yeah.
even that is a difficult decision.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like, see if you can find a team that just like they have Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery,
Swift.
like they have, what was that?
Swift,
right? And like they have all four of those running backs, and now they're all on the injury report, right? Like,
yeah.
Can you find that guy and try and trade, try and package
something to go get one of those guys
to make? I don't think you're going to get Akers for one of those guys, but I think you could maybe do something like Akers and a piece to try and get a wide receiver, or trying to get they're not going to, if they're in that situation, they're probably not sending any running backs, but maybe you can convince them to move one of those better options. And it is very, very sad the amount of
I know you
people.
I don't know if you just ignored it earlier, if you just thought I was being me, but I'm serious. I think when Kyron Williams comes back from injury, there's a chance he could end up taking over this backfield.
I just don't think that offense is just so bad that even when he comes back, even if he has like, hey, he got a decent amount of touches, I still don't
know if he can be efficient enough.
Right. I don't think that with that offense, that is just funneled. So like somebody was like, I don't get why Allen Robinson's not getting targeted. It's because Stafford is under duress the entire time, and the only one getting open, and sometimes not even that open, is Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. And they're just safety blankets for him. And he's just peppering them with targets because that's what they are. All right. Anyways, one more guy that I think is probably a good name to throw in here also. Another running back, Travis Etienne, taken RB14, another third-round pick. Yeah, he was drafted as RB18. ADP of 34.1.
Wow, I am shocked by that, and I love Travis Etienne.
Yeah. I remember I remember when he was a fourth-round pick, and I was like, I feel like we're getting a bit out of hand with this, and then he became a third-round pick, and I'm like, I'm out. So I don't have any Travis Etienne across any leagues. And as of right now, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I am buying the dip on Etienne personally.
Okay, I'd be selling it, maybe depending on the league, but probably.
I mean, so here's the thing that I want to just try and remember and have other people remember is like, this is basically Etienne's rookie year. Not only is it his rookie year, basically, he's coming off a major injury. And so I actually have him as my start of the week this week because they're playing Houston. And I just think at some point, because James Robinson came back down to earth too. Now, it was against Philly. Philly's defense is nasty. But I think that at some point, they're going to realize what they have with Travis Etienne, and he's going to take over. And I think it's going to start this week. I'm hoping it starts this week. But I think it's got a good shot because Houston's defense just is very good. Yeah. So here's my question for you. What's Etienne's percent offense? And especially compared that to James Robinson's.
Let's see here. So Travis Etienne, 11% in week 1, 16%, 21%, 19%. So he has been slowly increasing, slowly increasing in his usage. And then if we compare that to, let me get my sheet in order. if we can compare that to James Robinson, and welcome back, Tyler. We're just kind of wrapping up guys on the cutting block here. So James Robinson, 18% in week 1, 35% in week 2.
That was the week he blew up.
Yeah.
Right.
No, actually week 2, he was only at 15%. Or sorry, 15. Yeah, 15 PPR.
Oh.
Yeah, he hasn't like completely blown everything out of the water in terms of PPR points. Like he's been a surprise play because he's been so just good. But if you look at his actual point scoring, let me just pull up his profile.
Maybe I guess it was week 3 I was thinking of.
But that's what I mean. Even that though, he
only had 20 points.
Yeah. 19, 15, 20, and then 2.9. Yeah, that one was real. That one was real bad. Oh, he had the fumble and only 8 carries. So, I mean, that's where.
Can I just say something? That I love how it just seems like coaches in general, NFL or college, like if a player fumbles the ball, they are the pettiest mother truckers on the face of the planet. It's like you fumble the ball, you're not playing the rest of the game. It's like, yo, are you perfect? Like, did you call a perfect game? Did you make every perfect decision? No, bro. Let me back in the game.
Yeah. I mean, it is such a momentum swing, and it is such a detriment to your chances of winning. So I'm not against it, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Probably not the whole game, but yeah. So there is a bit of an increase for Travis Etienne. The question is, how are they going to get him involved? Right. That seems to be the big question. Is how are they going to get him involved? And they're not doing it with him rushing the ball. That's for sure. I mean, outside of week 3 where he had 13 carries, you're hoping that he's getting the receiving work, and the receiving work, he hasn't been that much better than James Robinson. 2, 2, 3. Those are Robinson's number outside of week 4 when he had 0. And then Etienne is 4, 3, 3, 1. Like it just, they're not that far off. But
that Philadelphia game was just sloppy though. Like the whole game was sloppy, but especially from on the Jacksonville side of things. So,
and I feel like you kind of, at least for me, I was like, I'm pretty confident the Eagles have this game, even though it was not the way they wanted to start the game. But
sure.
Yeah. All right. Tyler, before we close out the chopping block section, anybody that you're like, yeah, this guy, throw him on the chopping block. Maybe not somebody that we're going to cut right away, but somebody that might be really close to being cut.
I think the ones that we mentioned are the only ones that I kind of thought about. I'm not sure, who you guys talked about whenever I was out.
Mm-hmm.
But my main one was Kyle Pitts. I'm not going to put him on the chopping block, but I've definitely thought about it in only anger. Of course, not actual.
pure unbridled anger at what's happening to fantasy teams.
Yeah, that's literally it. But yeah, everybody else, I think you guys mentioned.
Yeah, and just because I feel like we harped on running backs more than any other position, I want to throw in there DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin. And Shane, you talked about DJ Moore, but Terry McLaurin is sitting right next to him as well in terms of being drafted wide receiver 15. DJ Moore was wide receiver 14. And both of them are outside of wide receiver 3 numbers so far. So Terry McLaurin's at 41. DJ Moore is at 51. So far on the season, they have 35 and 45 points. Like that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like they have less points combined than Tyreek Hill has alone. Like they have less points than Michael Pittman, and Michael Pittman has only played 2.5 games. Throwing that out there. Okay.
I had another one that you and I talked a little bit about pre-show to where he's not necessarily like, oh shit, you need to cut him, but he's not living up to where you probably drafted him. And it's Dalvin Cook.
Oh, yeah.
So
let's see. Where's Dalvin Cook?
He's sitting at RB 25 in PPR, 24 in standard if you're still playing standard.
Yeah. And you took him as the RB6 in the first round.
Yeah, you took him likely in the first, maybe second round, and you're barely getting 11 points per game.
Yeah, him and the guy right next to him still do the same thing. Naji Harris is another one.
That's another one I thought of too, actually.
You were probably excited. You were probably like, oh boy, they fell to me in the second. Hooray. And then they've just been
hot garbage.
Not
even hot garbage. Just slightly toasted garbage.
Yeah. And here's the thing that's going to be interesting, and I think they have the ability to recover. And that's why I think they're definitely not going to be on the chopping block, but maybe at some point soon, maybe they go on the trade block. But
I literally just put Dalvin Cook on the trade block tonight.
Yeah, their percent offense is still pretty high.
Yeah, I think I fielded 4 trade questions today from just friends and people on Twitter, and 3 of them were Kyle Pitts, and 2 of those same trades involved Dalvin Cook. So it's like all these guys are just people are just frustrated and tired of seeing it.
Yep.
But you can't get max value out of it, so you're just stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I may have found another receiver for us, Seth.
Okay. Well,
we can do it quickly.
Okay, go for it. Why not? No, Pat's not here. We don't have to follow any rules.
It's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Mm.
Sitting at wide receiver 48. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I thought his ceiling was higher than what he's had, but he's basically had 11.9, 4, 13.9, and 9.6, and isn't cracking more than 74% snap share. So
yeah, and
the targets look like they're there though.
Yeah,
he's 8 targets in every game, but week 2.
Yeah, he's sitting as the wide receiver 47. And so part of the reason why he's not on quite my radar yet, even though I am disappointed in him, because he is one of the guys that I do have more shares of. You drafted him wide receiver 32. You drafted him with an ADP around 75.4 according to fantasy data. So you're thinking, that's in the 6th round, 6th, 7th round. That's not as insurmountable as your 1st, 2nd, 3rd round guys. It's not your Cam Akers that you reach for in the 3rd. It's not your Travis Etienne's you reach for in the 3rd. So I do agree. He has definitely been disappointing considering where I wanted him to be, but I don't think he's at that point yet where you cut bait and run.
No, completely agree with that. Just thought he would be an intriguing one to bring up at this time.
Yeah, I think he's a flex play that you got in your 6th or 7th round. Not ideal, but not the most horrible thing either.
So when y'all were talking about Justin Fields, did y'all mention that he has less completions and Kupp has catches? Because that's
way.
Wait, say that one more time.
Kupp has more receptions than Justin Fields has pass completions.
I mean, I did mention just how little they were involving him, but holy crap. Okay. With that said, we definitely I gave myself a prize, a reward that I wasn't going to talk about the Bears for 2 weeks. So you're just coming back in, Tyler, and getting right back into the Bears talk. All right. We are, though, going to jump into my personal favorite part of the show. The Fact Attack. All right, so this is where we put 5 minutes on the clock, and
I've got a timer ready for you.
Oh, you got it? Oh, good,
Yeah.
because I didn't know if I had the ambidexterity to be able to do both.
No, I got you, babe.
Thanks. So sweet. All right, so the Fact Attack, 5 minutes on the clock. We try and hit as many questions as we can out of Twitter. We usually get to about 5. We'll see what we can get here. All right, you ready, Shane?
Yeah.
All right, so coming in from @Thomas a bunch of numbers. PPR Superflex 2-point PPR tight end premium. Do you make the trade for Pitts and Metcalf and Ramondre, or 5 23 firsts?
I'm going 523 first just because it's fun.
I'll take the other side of that just because it's Pitts, and I love him way too much.
That's fair.
Yeah, I saw somebody put on Twitter, "What if Pitts is just OJ Howard?" And it's like that's really tough.
No,
that's really bad.
I feel like that's probably the best option of first you're probably gonna get, and I think that's something that just revitalizes your entire team. So I think I could go with the first, but it's a big move selling Pitts, and it almost feels like you're selling Pitts low. All right, next question in @JStern3, 12-team PPR redraft, Mixon or Dobbins and Michael Thomas?
I'm going Dobbins and Michael Thomas.
I didn't think I would, but I think I am too.
Yeah, Mixon has definitely been up there as a just viable running back for you, and I think that is what makes it so tough. But I feel like Dobbins and what Dobbins was about to do and MT really help him out. Speed it up, Shane.
I'm giving you the Gus Malzahn hurry up finger.
Okay, there we go. All right, @FF, I love this one. FF_burner_ account, just in case you forgot which one this one was. Rest of the season PPR redraft, Jonathan Taylor or Dalvin Cook?
Give me JT.
Yeah, same. JT.
I agree. All right. Next up, @Hertz2Smith16, must be a Philly fan. 0.5 PPR redraft, Kamara and Woods or Chase. I am assuming this has to be Jamar Chase, which makes it a smash except for Chase for me. Yeah. But if it's Chase Edmonds, I think it's a smash decline, and I send like dirty messages in the chat.
I send $1 of free agent auction bidding for the other person's entire team. Yeah, this is Jamar Chase because Bobby Trees is on an awful offense and Kamara is just, I don't know.
Yeah, 100% Chase.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And probably the last one we'll have time for, @Justin29100, 0.5 PPR. RB2 for week 5, getting us ready for our show that we do later in the week. You got to start one guy as your RB2, Ramondre Stevenson, my boy Dameon Pierce, or Breece Hall.
Well, if you hadn't said my boy Dameon Pierce, I was probably going to go with him. Who did the Steelers play? Oh, no, the Steelers play Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm still going Pierce.
Yeah, I love Pierce too, so I'm starting him.
Wait, why would the Steelers be?
Sorry, the Jets don't play the Steelers. I've lost my mind.
Okay, I was very confused why
No,
the
I effed up. I don't even know where that came from. I'm sorry. Who did
um
the Jets play the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still going Damian Pierce.
I think Brees may be getting ready to take over some of this Jets offense in a way that's going to help him return some of his value, because you drafted him as the RB22 and actually he's already doing it. He's at RB17 right now. So I think this is one of the ones where it actually paid off taking Brees there. And he has been. He had 32% of the offense
15
in week
seconds.
4 and 15 points. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Brees does, even though I was one of the people trying to pump the brakes on Brees Hall during draft season. Okay.
All right, that's our timer because you wouldn't shut up. We could have gotten to another question.
Well, that's actually probably a good thing because I didn't make any other questions fancy. I would have literally had to just read it off of Twitter or something like that. So that's probably a good thing. All right, Shane, with the timer. Thank you, sir. Go ahead and tell the good people where they can find you.
Sure, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FFShaneB. My show is Red Zone Redemption. You can follow that on Twitter at FFRZ Redemption. And all of my episodes will be on your preferred podcasting network as well as rotoheat.com, where I am the audio editor for all their podcasts.
Nice. Tyler, tell the good people where they can find you.
Find me on Twitter at Coach T Posey. Find me on YouTube and various podcast channels under the FF Face Off channel with every week's my favorite top 5, 6 player prop bets and all of my prop bets on Twitter as well.
And Tyler is a prop bet moneymaker. So definitely check those ones out. Yes. Once you do, you'll be singing what Shane was. I think that was singing. Anyways, we've done this long enough. Now to pay the bills, go ahead and use the promo code FAQS. That's FAQS at Fantasy Data. All the fine, wonderful spreadsheets that I click through and Shane calls me a nerd about. You can create your own at fantasydata.com or just use their amazingly intuitive set of data, snap counts, red zone information, premium stats. It's all there for you. Best of all, use that promo code FAQS, that's FAQS at fantasydata.com and receive 20% off your subscription. And if you think your season is done, it's never done over at Underdog, you can use some of Tyler's fancy prop bet magic and play a little bit of over-under. It's not prop bets, but man, is it fun. You can identify not over-unders, but higher and lowers and then pick them with Underdog. And the best part is use that promo code FAQS again, and you get 100% deposit match up to 100%. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Shane, for being here. Thank you, Tyler, for being here. Be sure to go out, subscribe, follow us wherever you can at The Fantasy Facts on YouTube, anywhere podcasts are out there. Check it out under Fantasy Data. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Catch you on the flip side.